Welcome to From Blueprint to Beautiful, the podcast where we take you behind the scenes of home remodeling. I'm Heather Francis, and with my husband, Michael Francis, we own and operate Francis Renovations. We've spent years helping homeowners turn their renovation dreams into reality. Whether you're planning your next big project, love a good before and after, or just want to avoid common renovation pitfalls, you're in the right place. So grab a coffee or a hammer, and let's dive in. Hi, Eric Fortenberry. Thank you so much for joining us today. This is really exciting for us.
Absolutely.
So, Eric, you are the founder of JobTread, which is the software that we use. I know that you and Michael were just talking about how you started JobTread.
Yep.
Can you give us a little bit of background of that?
Yeah, sure. So it was in 2018. I ended up having a buddy of mine who was running a construction company asked me to come over and help him figure out how to scale the business. And, they were just kind of hitting those typical growing pains, trying to be able to manage more concurrent projects, growing the team, growing the revenue. And so, I walked in and I saw the chaos that I've since learned is a very typical construction company's chaotic environment with just papers everywhere, literally timesheets walking in the doors. They're printing out all the bills and expenses that they're getting from their vendors, putting those into binders, waiting for the project manager to come physically sign and approve them, and then typing it into one spreadsheet and then into another, and then entering it into QuickBooks. And I saw the challenges that they were having, trying to scale the business without having good software and systems and processes in place. And so, I was just like, guys, yeah, you just need some software. Let me go find you something. I'll help you, essentially get it implemented. And, I looked at everything out there, but I felt like, it was either like really antiquated or is just like going to be really tough to customize and really meet our needs or get implemented, or super expensive. And so I struggled to make a recommendation for them. And the owner's like, well, you're a software guy. Can't you just build us something? I was like, whoa, hold on. I wasn't trying to take on a full-time job here. I was just, again, trying to help a buddy out. But, I got to thinking about it, and, ultimately it did seem like a great opportunity. And so I went into it with three conditions: that one, I take over CEO; two, I give you 1 year of my time; and three, everything I build is my intellectual property. So if this has the potential to become my next software company, I can go do that. And so, they made me partner. CEO took over the business, and we built this, out of a needs basis while running that construction company. And ultimately, we helped grow them that year from 5 to 8 million in sales. We increased their gross profit by 43%. We helped them to better manage, a lot more jobs at one time without having to hire and build out a huge team. And so it was after that 1 year that, I realized that I needed to not leave that sitting there with that one company. This is going to make, a huge impact on a lot of people. And so we essentially recruited my best developer, designer, and my CFO from my last company. And we started this in 2019 and built for a few years, started selling it in 2021. I think we got it to like 200 companies that first year, and we got it to 1,000, and then 2,200 last year. We ended around 4,500 companies using JobTread. We just surpassed 6,000 active customers now, so it's very exponentially growing on us. But I think the coolest thing is just seeing the impact that having a great system in place for a construction business and how it can really impact their projects and how they can deliver those projects on budget, on time, and ultimately deliver a much better customer experience for their end customer.
I think when we started with you, we were just around 250 companies were your clients. I remember, you probably don't remember this, I called the helpline one time. I was having trouble with something, and I called the helpline, and you answered the phone. And I was like, this can't be Eric. This can't be you. You were at the dentist office. So I remember just thinking, okay, so I just loved that you were so hands-on, like that, like as a small business, that's a good feeling. Yeah.
Yeah, I still do that from time to time. Answer calls, emails. Yeah, I mean, I'm frequently reply to support emails, things like that.
The other thing that we really liked about JobTread was your interest in listening to your clients. So I know that we have access to the request portal, where people can insert their needs and you can try to meet them. How has that helped you? Do you feel like your ability to listen to the feedback of what contractors actually need in the field has helped you? And you want to talk a little bit about that, how that's helped you evolve?
Yeah, 100%. It's I think been one of the secret sauces, if you will. Early on. So we created this Facebook group for all of our users to join and to collaborate. And like, I think that was like the one thing that like I never really, saw that thing would blow up like it has. But, early on when I was kind of having all these engaging conversations with all of our users, like I was having to manually go and kind of create and track all of these feature requests. And so it got to the point where I was just like so overwhelmed that we decided to create that feature request board, which is directly in the help desk in the JobTread application. And that has just been such a game changer for us. It allows, us to easily, see all of the feature requests that are coming in from all of our users. But even more importantly, like everyone can go vote on those features. And that helps us to see what is the most important and really ultimately prioritize our development based on the thing that is going to make the biggest impact on the most number of users. And so having that system in place, like just was so helpful, so that I wasn't having to create every single thing. I could, kind of say, hey, that's a great idea. Can you go create a feature request? And then we have like an approval process where we'll go kind of review it, make sure it makes sense, maybe make a few tweaks in the description or name or whatever, and then we publish it. And then, anyone can come in and can see that and can upvote those. And so those directly feed into our development roadmap that's, heavily taken into consideration when we're, considering what projects to take on next. It's, at the end of the day, we want to make sure that we are delivering, the best possible application with all the features and the things that our customers and our users want to see. And so, this helps us to do that.
It's really cool because I go in there on occasion and I'll look through all of the feature requests that are in there. And there's a lot of them. You have a lot of very engaged users. And a lot of them are really good. I've upvoted a number of them.
Well, I remember in the beginning, like the biggest thing was the selection, housing the selections.
Housing the selections, yeah.
And I remember when you rolled that out, that was awesome.
That was huge.
And it's such a huge benefit to everybody.
That's a game changer
for trade
us.
Partners, the homeowners, like just putting it in there was huge.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I truly view this as a collaborative effort at this point. Like we no longer have to come up with all the new ideas, solve all the, the most challenging problems. Like we can essentially, bring all of the people who are most passionate about those features together and say, hey, let's go through the use cases. Like, how would this benefit you? How do you see this working? Like, and then it even lets us, like, once we get this, get something in development, like up on a staging server, we can actually allow our customers to log in and see the feature while we're developing it and giving us real-time feedback before we release it to everyone. It's like, I think just this very like closed, short, communication loop is so helpful to make sure that what we're building is resonating and it's easy to use, easy for people to figure out, and it's what they want and what they need.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's fun. It's fun, but it's also fun to watch you evolve as a company and and see where that goes. One of the things that our clients mention, and one of the things that we like about JobTread, is how organized it makes our projects. We had a client, one of the first clients that we used, that we allowed access to everything. She was a project manager, and she was like, "This makes my project manager heart happy." And so those features and how you have developed JobTread, can you talk a little bit about what you feel makes the biggest difference for the homeowner?
Yeah, absolutely. And I can tell you from my own experience. So I recently we had a JobTread customer. They built our pool, and so I got the opportunity to actually be the end user, the homeowner. While a project is going on with JobTread, like it was just such a great experience and a great opportunity for me to again live in that role. I'm a very big believer in being able to kind of build this out of a needs basis and like truly understand what it's like. And so having that opportunity, I mean, like when we first started the project, we actually kicked it off with a bunch of messages, and there were text messages, and me and the project manager had one, me and the project manager, my wife had one, and me, my wife, and the project manager, we had all these kind of messages and these emails, and they were just like everywhere. And I was like, whoa, this is crazy. Like the thing that like ended up happening though is I get a change order, and I'm like, whoa, what in the world is this for? And he's like, oh no, I talked to your wife about it. I'm like, all right, well, that's great. But like, I would have liked to have been involved in this. Like, please help me understand this. And like, that's when I realized like, man, like we really need to bring all of the messaging and centralize it all directly on that client portal and not have all these other avenues. Like this is one place to have everything discussed, communicated, all the right people can be involved in that. And I think that was like such an important milestone, for us is to really bring that messaging together. Early on, we also found that like, when I sent a message, my wife couldn't necessarily see it and vice versa. And so like, hey, all customers need to be able to see all other customers' messaging to make sure that everybody's on the same page. So I think, going through that process, and then, again, when we got into it, like, we were like, with a pool build, like you kind of go on and off and you got weeks of of time where nothing's happening. Like, we were calling and checking in and sending messages, and they're like, hey, why don't we just share the schedule with you? And I'm like, yes, thank you. That's why that was developed. And so, they opened up and they shared the schedule with me, and like, we had so much more visibility and just being able to like check in and figure out like, hey, when are they supposed to be here? Oh, they're not going to be here all week. Great, cool. Like, I think having that understanding and that transparency about what to expect, it really puts the homeowner at ease versus wondering, well, did they no show? Are they late? Are they coming? Like, there's a lot of anxiety, when you're going through a large construction project, especially when it's, at your most important, most valuable asset, right? Like in your home. And so like, I think the more that information that you can share, it just really helps bring everybody together on the same page. When they started sharing the daily logs with us, like it was incredible. My wife and I felt like we were part of this journey. Like we saw every day what was happening, or even if nothing happened, they still were logging daily logs. Like, hey, we went out there, we're still waiting on this, whatever it may be. Like, getting that visibility, getting to feel like we were part of this journey, I think was just like so important. And it made the experience so much better for us versus kind of feeling a little bit more like kept in the dark and you don't know what's happening. You don't know what's going on. Having that ability to see all the photos, see all the activity, ask questions along the way instead of holding things in and like saying, oh, I see all these issues, but I'm not like pointing them out or like, seeing that they already know about these things. I think just having that level of transparency is so important in this day and age. There's a lot of, I think with homeowners, there's a lot of anxiety around, is this contractor, a fly by night? Is he going to show up, take my deposit and run? And that, by and large isn't, the majority of the industry, but there is a very small subset of contractors who, they're just not managing their business correctly. They're taking the money, they're robbing Peter to pay Paul. And like, I think with JobTread, it gives so much more comfort and transparency to the homeowner when they see that portal and they see when you send them that proposal, hey, here's where we're going to manage the entire project. This is going to be our place. And like, you can even show them past jobs. Hey, here's what it looked like to work with us. Like, I see that as such a huge advantage for contractors that are using JobTread, that engage with their clients using that client portal. It's just such a great tool.
The daily logs and the schedule are probably the two biggest things customer facing that they just love. We had a client that they were doing a couple bathrooms for, and they missed a day or two of the daily logs, and the guy was like, where's my log? But it's helpful because like in having a pool built, sometimes it looks like nothing's happening.
Yeah.
Like that, when all that like internal boring work is happening, it looks like nothing's happening. So to have that log and to be kind of like, yes, well, we were there and we were actually doing.
It's also the change orders. Like
the change orders are
because you can put the photo with it. Just these are the photos. This is what's going on. This is what we need to do to fix it.
Yeah.
And this is the cost for it.
Yeah.
Approve it or don't approve it.
Those change orders are huge. Yeah, that's been a game changer for us.
The other neat thing too is that it's through the permissions, like it's very flexible on how you set it up. And so if some clients they may get more overwhelmed with the details, and so you could actually kind of just share here are the high level milestones on the schedule. Like maybe your project manager client they really wanted to get into the nitty gritty, and you could share every single detail, all the tasks and the to dos and everything. Like it's very flexible how you set it up, but like it gives you the ability to make sure that you're not overwhelming the client with the details, so you can have different roles based on what they would like to share or see and what you would like to share with them. Which I think is really helpful to kind of meet the different needs, of your clients.
Yeah. Oh, it's huge. It's and it's easy. Like it's easy to use. It's pretty. It's enjoyable. So we've been with you effectively from the beginning, and it has been. This is more of like a business owner to business owner question. It's been fun to watch you grow, and it's been fun to watch how fast you've grown. And a lot of times when companies grow that fast, they falter, and you guys have not, at least not visibly. Like it seems like you have really taken all of that and run with it and done well with it. What are you most proud of? From when it was 250 clients to now 6,000, and what do you see coming next for you?
Yeah, great question. I think at the end of the day, it's the team that we built that I'm most proud of. I think for any great business, you've got to have a great team of people behind you, that are actually making it happen. And so, I'm very, very fortunate that, I would kind of describe our core team, the people who, kind of came very early on and are in like, the most critical roles. Like, we all actually worked together at my previous software company. And so we've got, I don't know, 15, 20 years of experience, like working together. I kind of describe it as a very well-oiled machine. Like we've, this isn't our first company. It's not our first rodeo. Like, we have set up all of the systems, the processes, the things that we know need to be in place to effectively scale every department, every team within the company. And so at the end of the day, though, like, I think a lot of people, I hear that feedback. They're like, oh, well, when you get to 1,000 or when you get to 5,000 or whatever it may be, like, it's all about making sure that you have the right systems, the right processes, and the right people in place. And that's how you build a great company that's extremely successful, scalable, profitable. You've got to have all those right components. And so, I think at this point, I mean, we're about 46, 47 employees, but like we very much like take our time to find the right people. Like everybody in our customer success team, or really all of our customer facing people, like they have some sort of experience in construction. I'm not saying they were like, necessarily the guy swinging the hammer or a business owner or project manager, estimator, whatever it may be, but like they have some sort of experience, working in or around construction companies where they actually understand what our customers are going through. And I think that's like really important because like, we can't teach you what it's like, to be a construction, worker or business owner or leader. And so the ability to empathize with our clients really helps, when we're building the rapport, we're building the relationships, when they're coming back and saying, hey, I really want, to have it do this or that, like we can understand the underlying kind of challenge that they're having or the desire, the root, because we hire people that have construction experience. Now, the other thing, as if finding, people with construction experience wasn't hard enough, finding people who are also located in Dallas, we literally have our entire team is here in Dallas, Texas. We all work in the same office. We don't do any remote. We don't outsource anything. Like we don't work from home. Like we literally come into the same office here in Dallas, Texas, our whole team. And I think that's been, some of the secret sauce too, is that like we're all together, and we're all aligned with our mission, our vision, our core values. Like every single person on this team is extremely passionate about what we're doing and has that natural desire to want to help others, to help them be successful. We love technology, we love construction. And so like, we've assembled this team and we've built this culture around us that really helps, foster, that continual innovation, that continual drive for excellence. And it just, we just kind of keep building and the momentum keeps going. And, I think at the end of the day, it's certainly been a lot of hard work. But when you're really passionate and you love what you do, like it doesn't feel like work at all. It feels like, we have the opportunity to come in and help people every single day and to see that impact, that's so rewarding.
That's fantastic. Yeah. Well, the team, because we talk about it all the team. Like the team makes all the time. The team makes all the difference. Yeah. And you guys have a great team.
Yeah, absolutely. It's something that, I see a lot of times, contractors can get overwhelmed and they think, man, like I need to bring someone on, like any warm body in that seat will be better than not, and me having to keep doing it all. And like the reality is like that often isn't the case. Like I see so many people that, they hire the first person that walks in the door, they hire their spouse or partner or family member who, very well may not be qualified to do that role. And so it's so important that people take the time to really understand, like, what are the responsibilities, what is the roles that I need to fill, and what are the expectations for that. And then when you go out and you look and you interview, and try to recruit people, like you can sort of measure them up against the very specific set of responsibilities that you need them to do to make sure that they are a good fit, and at the end of the day, I think that's like, it's just so important that you get the right people on the bus. Sometimes the wrong people off the bus, and then you can figure out, how and where to drive that bus. But it's the team that you build that I think is really the thing that will make or break any company.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think you just came up with your next software venture, JobTread team building or hiring or whatever you want to call it. There you go.
Yeah, it's certainly something that's very it's a very, very needed but challenging thing that I think everyone you got to keep your feelers out there. I tell people, like, treat your applicants and your potential employees and candidates, treat them just like you treat your leads, right? Like you got to follow up, you got to nurture them, like you got to keep in touch, build the relationship. Like even if they tell you no today, well, that doesn't mean no tomorrow or the day after. Like, when you find those people, you got to continually pursue them. And, ultimately you need it to be the right time for both of you. but it's all about making sure that, you know, when you see an opportunity, you gotta pursue it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's all we have for you. We really, really appreciate you talking to us today, Eric. This was a lot of fun for us.
Absolutely. Well, it's been fun and exciting to watch you all. You know, again, from being one of our very first customers, not really sure what we sold you, because I know a lot of the features were non-existent back then. Like,
Oh no, it was a totally different platform. Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
and even then it was good.
Yeah, well, we appreciate you, you blindly trusting us to some extent, joining us, and, you know, again, it's really been, you know, just the honor of my life to be able to work with companies just like you all and see how you're taking and implementing and being able to actually, you know, get this into the hands of your homeowners and with your suppliers, you know, your workers, your team members. Like, you know, the impact, you know, is only possible when companies like you implement and actually make it happen on your side too. So it's just it's been really cool to see the growth and the success that you all have had, you know, being able to use JobTread.
Nice.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, thank you so much, and I'm sure we'll be talking to you soon.
Absolutely. Thanks, Heather.
And that's a wrap for this episode of From Blueprint to Beautiful. I hope you enjoyed the conversation and took away some helpful insights for your own home projects. If you loved what you heard, don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. And if you have a renovation question or a story to share, I'd love to hear from you. You can connect with me at heather@francisrenovations.com, follow along on social media, or reach out at www.francisrenovations.com. And hey, if you're feeling generous, leave a quick rating and review. It helps more homeowners like you find the show. Thanks for listening, and until next time, keep dreaming, designing, and building.